Hey everyone, welcome to Redmen TV. Ste here, and yeah, I had Goal.com's Neil Jones in our studio today for Joruno Insight. Now, you've all probably seen what happened at Jurgen's post-Wolves press conference, where he had a little bit of a falling out with James Pearce of The Athletic. Now, I want to know what's really going on, what's happened. Neil was at that press conference. He was sitting pretty much right next to James. I think he was one seat in front of him. So yeah, if you want to know exactly what happened at that press conference, check out this clip from Joruno Insight. It's just the reaction of Jurgen in the press conference. Obviously, he had a little bit of a dig at James Pearce, which he's done in the past. He's done occasionally, but he's not really been like that. He's usually quite civil. He's openly admitted he doesn't really like press conferences. He literally said that in his interview recently with Mike Calvin. But it was quite strange because I think it might have been mistaken identity. I'm not quite sure, but was you there? What was the whole situation like?
Yeah, it wasn't great, to be honest. Obviously, cards on the table. He's a good friend of mine, James. So you know, you don't want to see that. Especially, I mean, I steered clear of it because I steer clear of it just generally. But you know what the reaction's going to be like on social media, and you know there's going to be people reveling in it, you know, that kind of thing. But so I was in the front row of the press conference, and James was literally behind me. He was a seat behind, so I didn't get to see the sort of the facial expressions. But I know, obviously, travelling back, you know, came as a huge surprise. Definitely came as a surprise to me. Can only imagine what it came as to James. I think it was unnecessary from Jurgen, full stop. I think it was even more unnecessary the fact that, you know, it wasn't necessarily his fault, James's fault. You know, it was more a build-up potentially of a few things, and I think you know, Jurgen's entitled to defend his staff and defend, you know, certain aspects of the club that he feels have been attacked unfairly and criticised, and you know, I've light shone on them, but it didn't strike the right tone with me, to be honest. It didn't feel like it was the right person or the right time or the right way to do it. We've seen a few of them, haven't we? I think Carl Markham had one recently, didn't he? With, you know, he said something like, you know, you go to every press conference and you ask the same question. And I think there was one with someone from the BBC about not wearing a face mask, and just a few little bits. And listen, it's happened. You know, I remember him at this season, sort of mid question, when I was asking him something about the World Cup, saying I hate this question, you know, straight away. And you know, they don't have a problem with that. I think this was maybe just a little bit further in terms of it invited a pile-on that doesn't need to, and you know, it's not me. It's not something that affects me. But I know how sort of these things can go. So I suppose it says a bit about the performance of Liverpool, doesn't it? That it became sort of such a big talking point.
I actually think it was a really good question. He was right.
Well, he answered it, didn't he? I mean, someone else asked the question straight away, and he answered it. And yeah, of course. And listen, it's not for me.
James have asked anything, and he wouldn't have answered it.
I think I got that impression, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think he was reacting to the question. Yeah. You know, I think he was reacting to the questioner, and I think he was wrong to react to the questioner the way he did. So, you know, it's not for me to sort of discuss the ins and outs of why Jurgen did it and why blah blah blah. I know roughly why it happened, but it's just, I never think it's a good look for managers to do that kind of thing. And you know, that's not to say that the media should have carte blanche to do whatever they want and you know, sort of no consequence. But I don't think in this instance it was justified, personally. And yeah, it was an awkward sort of couple of minutes, definitely, in the Molineux press room. But hopefully all forgotten. Yeah. And you know, I'd hope and I'd imagine that, you know, it won't be something that lingers. You know, I don't think that Jurgen would be that petty, if you like, to sort of hold a grudge in that way. I'd hope not, anyway.
And listen, we've seen loads of managers have done this. You know, Alex Ferguson famously would ban people from his press conferences. So I'm like, it isn't there. But again, this is my point of view. And I don't know. I obviously know James quite well. We've met Jurgen before, but it does feel a bit to me like this could have been something that was just settled away from there. Like if you really had a problem, it wouldn't be that hard to find James Pearce's phone number or just call him at every single Liverpool event ever. I mean, if he was really that, it just felt like, again, maybe it was the emotions because we've just been battered. Yeah. His team are in a horrendous place right now. And then the first person he sees is someone who maybe he's got a little bit of a cob on her, and that's why it can escalate into these types of situations.
Yeah, possibly that. I mean, listen, we always forget that, don't we? You know, and you know, listen, you have to remember that a lot of journalists sort of are supporters in a way as well, and so that they maybe would, you know, in the immediate aftermath of a great win or a bad defeat, would maybe ask something that's a little bit more heightened, you know, in that sense. I know I've done it in the past where, you know, maybe not necessarily with Klopp, but I remember in the Brendan Rodgers era, sort of a few, you know, front row, sort of asking a question almost like, what's happening, you know, like sort of almost like that. And you have to remember that if you're like that, you know, and the people who are watching it like that, imagine what they're like, you know, they just spend 90 minutes plus on the touchline, sort of tearing their hair out, or you know, on the other side, enjoying every minute of it. So, of course, there's going to be emotions. It was very quick as well. You know, I should point that out as well. You know, it felt, I wouldn't know for definite, but it felt like it was sooner, that press conference after the final whistle than usual. Potentially, usually be waiting like maybe half an hour. Felt like it was more 15, 20 minutes, that one. So potentially as well, you know, there's been, it was even more raw in his mind. And also the other thing that you have to remember is the amount of interviews these managers do after the end of a game with BBC, Sky, you know, foreign TV rights holders and club TV, you know, the radio. There's so many of them, and of course, when you're in a situation at Liverpool, you're being asked the same thing. You're not being asked to sort of wax lyrical about Andy Robertson or Virgil van Dijk or whoever. You're being asked what's going on, why is this happening? You know, what are the answers? And you know, I can understand why managers get a bit tetchy. You know, Jurgen's done it many times in the past. I can remember him tearing a strip off a Sky reporter for asking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin's penalty, I think it was one. I remember him sort of saying, I'm not speaking to you anymore. You obviously know nothing about football. So he's not averse to this kind of thing. But yeah, like I say, I think on this instant, I think he picked a little bit of an unfair fight, if you want to call it that. But all forgotten, you know, if that's the biggest news around the club this week, then at least there's been no more injuries.
Yeah, because if you wanted to just put ball on it, you could, like, and I think Chris said this to me, like, there's a method here where, you know, it isn't the worst diversion tactic in the world. To, you know, like, if your team had been hammered 3-0, like, you know, Jose Mourinho would be famous for this. He'd just pick someone out and no one's talking about the fact that your team got battered. I mean, that press conference was after one of Liverpool's worst defeats since about 2 weeks ago. But in general, like, forever, that's another thing where, again, everyone has come out of it talking, and that's what I found most annoying about it, to be honest with you. I found, like, it was a good question, but by the time he answered it, by the next person who asked it, no one was really listening, no one really cared because of what had just happened. And that's what frustrated me as a fan, is that I don't think we were getting the best answer from Jurgen Klopp, because you could clearly tell he was still wound up a bit.
Yeah, if you think back to sort of maybe Rafa Benitez being one as well, you know, remember obviously the famous press conference that he gave with his piece of paper and his facts, and whatever points he was making, and I'm pretty sure if you read back through the transcript of what he said, there would be a more than passable point that he was making in terms of scheduling and referees and whatever else. But it was lost among the narrative of the, you know, Rafa's cracking up, you know, that kind of, that became the soundtrack to that season, didn't it? Even though, you know, subsequently, actually, if you look at how Liverpool performed, it had no impact on Liverpool's season. You know, they did pretty well after Rafa made that thing, but it became the narrative, didn't it? And you know, if you want to present an image that, listen, we're not playing well, we're having bad results, but everything's calm and we're working and we're going to get back to the sort of a certain level. Doing things like that in the press conference probably doesn't help that, does it? You know, it doesn't. No. You're on hiding to nothing almost, in terms of no matter what happens next. Listen, there's no way a press conference impacts what Liverpool do in their next game, but it definitely will be used if Liverpool don't deliver in the next game. It'll be used as a sort of another bit of evidence for the prosecution a little bit, that, oh, you know, the mood was bad, or there was too much emotion around, or whatever, you know, too much sensitivity or paranoia, whatever. And you look back down the years really with Liverpool managers. You know, I remember Gerard Houllier. You know, I wasn't a journalist at the time, but I do remember a lot of press conferences or media interviews where he'd talk about people being against the club. You know, he was obsessed with ex-players, wasn't he? I think at one point, sort of sticking the boot in. You know, you think back to Rafa, obviously, was one that often seemed to be at war with.
Kenny wasn't exactly fans of
Kenny wasn't. You know, even towards the back end, I can remember Brendan. You know, people might not know this, but Brendan really banned a lot of the local reporters on his last pre-season. You know, I think he fell out with them after the Stoke game, the 6-1 game. So he lost that relationship as well, and that it almost affects managers, maybe when they've been at a club for a few years as well, as Jurgen has. There's always this kind of, you know, at some point there's the lines are drawn, and when everything's going well, it's fine. But when the results aren't, then these things are almost inevitable. But I hope it doesn't spread and become a sort of a bit of a war between the local media or the media and the club, because it doesn't need to. The way to change it really is just to win a few games, and Monday night would be a decent place to start.
Absolutely. I always find it that interesting that there's always this narrative, and I actually think Jurgen's good at this, and this is kind of contradicts him a little bit. I think what might have been an issue per se is that we don't listen to outside noise. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I tell the players to ignore it and all that. But in fairness, everyone sees everything. Yeah. There's no way anything like you write or James writes or Melissa or anyone on the beat writes, or whether it's national or local, it all gets read. But I find that it's hard for you to then, you can't go back now and say, oh yeah, I don't pay attention, or because you the cat's out the bag line. You do, because you've just had a bit of a go at someone for something that was written whenever.
He's done it a lot. I mean, the Daily Mail seems to be one. Talksport and the Daily Mail seem to be his things. And
Gabby Agbonlahor's had it, hasn't he?
Gabby Agbonlahor's had it. I've heard Martin Samuel named in press conferences. There was one obviously last season, I think, with regards to after the Manchester United game, where he brought it up, a piece that was written in the Daily Mail. So I don't think anyone believes him when he says, "Oh, we don't, I don't read for 1 second what you write." He says that, and listen, that's not us or myself or anyone sort of saying, "Well, we're too important." Of course you read what we write. It's natural. It's part of his job really to know what's getting out of the club, what's being said about the club, what the sort of the mood is a little bit. It's not a massive part, but it's definitely part of it. He will be, it's part of his press officer and his media team's job to let them know that, look, the chances are in this press conference there's going to be a question asked about this, which has appeared in this newspaper, and that's part of the briefing element to it. So he does. I mean, I don't think I'm telling a. I think this is available, so I'm not giving away a trade secret. But I remember when I was at the Echo, and James again, getting a little bit of a dig about a headline that was on the front of the Echo, and it was something about, it was when they got beat by Leicester in the League Cup, 2017 it would have been, and I think Jurgen had said afterwards something like, I'm sick of the same issues, and I think it was maybe around the idea of dominating the game, creating chances but not taking them. Yeah. And I think James's headline or the quote that they pulled out was something like, "Join the club, Jurgen. We're all sick of it." And he sort of said, I gave you a lovely open goal there. Thank you, brilliant. Yeah, you took your chance at the back post or something like that. But then you almost remembered sort of, I'm not supposed to read these kind of things. He said, I only saw it because I was in the petrol station and it was on the it was on the thing, and you think, okay, yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Delivered every day. Yeah. Thanks very much for joining us on that one, guys. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. I hope it cleared a few things up as well. If you want to check out the entire episode of Joruno Insight, we talk about all the lads who were injured coming back. We talk about Man City, the new Super League proposals, Julian Ward being linked to Ajax, and loads more. You can go and check it out over on redmenplus.com, and I'll do a little deal for you. If you go over to redmenplus.com, sign up as a monthly club captain, and if you use the promo code KLOPP, KLOPP, you can have our club captain subscription 99 pence a month for the first 3 months. So yeah, what's that? £2 or £2.90, just a little bit under that, whatever it is. Go and get yourselves involved. Less than £3 for 3 months, basically. So yeah, redmenplus.com. Sign up as a club captain on a monthly subscription. Use the code KLOPP, and you can get it for 99p a month for the first 3 months. See you all there.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching that show. Did you know if you go over to redmenplus.com and sign up as a Club Legend subscriber, you will get access to our amazing Discord chat, 20% off merchandise, live tickets every year for free, plus all our incredible content, and you'll get absolutely everything right as it happens. So get over there and do it.